For ribs done right, slow cooked to perfection, come to Lady Louisa's place and get authentic home-cooked comfort foods at reasonable prices. Come in today for great lunch specials like these. 4-bone rib sandwich, $5.95. 3-piece whiting fish sandwich, $3.99. Cajun turkey wing, $5.95. Chicken leg and thigh, $1.99. Join our rewards club and get $5 off your next meal. We cook the way Big Mama cooks. Lady Louisa's on West McNichols at Greenfield. Call 313-273-3663.
Computers for only $200? That's right, computers for only $200. Let All About Technology get you started. Get a computer for only $200. And don't forget, if you need any assistance or computer help on your existing computer, we can help. Hardware, software, network, you name it. All About Technology can do it. Call 313-218-4888 or go to www.allabouttechnology.com, the home of the $200 computer.
Welcome to Josephine's Food for the Soul, where we make eating a pleasant experience. You can taste the love.
Whether it's our delicious barbecue ribs and chicken or tasty sides, you can just taste the love. Join us on Fridays for hot fish guaranteed to make your mouth water. Don't want to leave home? No problem. We'll deliver. For delicious home-style cooking, stop by. We are located at 18,000 East 9 Mile Road between Kelly and Gratiot. Call 586-362-8155 to place your orders.
Got back, did a little bit, now we hardy, puffy, tough, do-rag and Tim's, kinda hard to get a job, back out on the block, charge that to the game. Young girl, she grew up in a rush, had it bad, no doubt, she don't know who to trust, every man she ever loved, only one.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Expose Under the Sun, brought to you by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm Sharon Dumas, and I am your host. I am so excited today because the holiday season is here, and Thanksgiving is just in 2 days. And, of course, that's the time we get a chance to make excuses about overeating. But I'm excited that because this is a happy time. There's so many things that have been going on in our country and in our world that we needed this happy time. You know, I look at people walking down the street, and so many people look depressed, like the world is on their shoulder. And so today I am excited to have a young lady, Dr. Carla Mitchell. How are you, Dr. Carla Mitchell?
I am very well, Sharon. Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm excited that you're going to be sitting in sometime for me as well.
I'm excited about that, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, is there something we can do naturally to help our spirits? I mean, there's so much
Well, of course. I mean, different things make people feel good, and we all have to find that thing for us. It's the holidays.
Right.
And, you know, as a child, I grew up with my grandmother hosting. So in our house, dancing was that feel-good thing for us.
Okay.
Listening to old-school music and just dancing. But I would encourage people to find the thing that makes them feel good. We all know what that could be. You know,
Right.
It could be just having company. It could be going ice skating. It could be hosting dinner. We all just need to find that feel-good thing because human connectedness boosts the spirit. So being around people who smile and bring you joy is one easy way to do that during the holiday season.
Right. What about any herbs that I could take? Because I could definitely use something myself right now.
Well, there are herbs that are pick me up. You know, if you are not happy, people generally call that a depressive state. And the most common thing that people use nowadays is St. John's wort, which is an herb that is for boosting the spirit. There are others, like valerian root is also a good herb that people use. But I would caution people, you know, I don't like to give broad spectrum recommendations because, you know, herbs have interactions.
Right.
So I am, in my practice, I don't necessarily give broad spectrum recommendations because people need to understand how to use things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the interaction with, I know now they're asking you when you go to the hospital, have you taken any herbs?
Absolutely, because they interact with some medications. And so we just have to be careful. And my go-to is human connectedness.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people who make you smile and boost your mood. And then if you need help, rely on somebody who understands what herbs can do for you.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell us about your practice. Tell us what you do and how you go about it.
Lovely. So I like to tell people that my practice is fueled by my passions.
Okay.
And my causes and those things that, you know, touch my heart. And really, the thing that touches my heart the most is addiction. Both my parents had addictions. So part of my work involves helping people find alternatives to prescriptions that we know people can become addicted to or dependent on. So I am a naturopath and a clinical herbalist, and I use herbs and other things in naturopathy to help heal the body. And naturopathy is a umbrella for a lot of different natural approaches to helping the body heal.
Okay, I know I came and I had an exam.
Yeah.
It was totally different. I had
Yeah.
never seen any of the instruments that you use.
Yeah.
Can you explain some of the things that you do use? And I suggest that people will go and see Dr. Carla and just experience how she goes about her practice. I thought it was unique, different, and it made me feel better. And you taught me some things that I didn't know, like I was allergic to certain things. I didn't
Sure.
know that.
You know what, Sharon? Thank you for saying that. And I also invite people to come. All of my consultations are free because I know people have questions, and the work that I do is really new, especially in our community. So some of the approaches that I use, a lot of people are familiar with iridology, which is the study of the iris. It's a tool that I use because it helps me to understand how long imbalance has been present in the body. There is a specific assessment that I use that is unique to my practice, and it involves an assessment of using the samples of hair, nails, urine, and saliva, and it gives me a great deal of information about how the body functions. I mean, some people refer to it as functional medicine. Mine is a little bit different because I'm interested in how the body is processing all the things that you're ingesting.
Okay.
Consciously and unconsciously.
All right.
So that is an assessment and a tool that I use in my practice. Some people are familiar with muscle testing.
Okay.
I don't use it as frequently, but I do use it in my practice. And I'm also trained in several types of vibrational therapies like Reiki and pranic healing and healing touch therapy. And that's something else that I use. Acupuncture is a tool that I use in my practice. So as I mentioned before, being a naturopath has afforded me the opportunity to learn about a lot of different ways to address conditions in the body, and I try to employ them on an individual or case-by-case basis.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I know that you had, you told me that I was allergic to corn and some other things that I love.
Yeah.
The one thing.
Yeah.
But how were you able to get to that in the process that you use?
So my process involves subjecting samples to a number of conditions that give me indications of your body's sensitivity to certain conditions.
Okay.
It's a trade secret for sure.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I'm aware that nobody here is doing that in that regard, and so it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. But doing a consultation can get you that information. But essentially, it just involves me subjecting your samples to some conditions that give me information about whether your body is sensitive, and if it is sensitive, how sensitive your body is. And if I could give you a comparison, I mean, most people have had an allergy test
Right.
where you've been poked with tons of needles to figure out what your symptoms are. My process is similar, but it's less invasive, meaning I don't poke your body doing it. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Will you give your contact information so people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So we are on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And you can just look us up at EIWDT. And there are booking links on those two social media sites. Also, if you wanted to call our office, you could call 313-744-2747. And then you can schedule an appointment that way as well. And we also have a website. Our website is www.eiw-dt.com.
Great.
Yep,
Great. And
yep.
can you give your phone number one more time?
Absolutely. The phone number is 313-744-2747.
Great. And you talked about like substance abuse.
Yeah.
I know that you are now the executive director of
Yeah,
CLASS.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about CLASS.
So the CLASS agency it stands for Changing Lives and Staying Sober, and it is a phenomenal agency. I actually, before I took on this responsibility, I actually sat on the board of directors for the past 9 years. So I've seen the work that the agency's done. I have an incredible amount of respect for Carolyn Anderson,
Right.
who is the founder and director emeritus of the organization, and she just has a passion for helping people, women in
Yes.
particular. And so Class Agency has been a mental health and substance abuse provider in the city of Detroit for well over 10 years. And they provide prevention services to youth, but also wraparound support services for women in recovery. And the agency is now growing its services in the community as a coalition leader in the 48219 area code, where they're leading all kinds of awareness campaigns around marijuana and opioid abuse, which you know is a huge thing.
Yes.
And they're also partnering with universities to provide treatment services to people in the area where their residents reside, which is the 48219 area.
That is so wonderful.
It's very exciting.
It's
very
wonderful.
exciting.
You know, the opioid epidemic, in my opinion,
Mine too. I know where you're going with this.
the doctors, I recall from the surgery that I had, the medication that they wanted to give me are things that I heard on the street. So I would say to them, well, I don't want that, you know? And they said, you're getting it anyway. And then write the script. So I have scripts that I have not gotten filled. I've had them for a year or two. I just put them to look at it. And I said to myself, I bet people are going to get hooked on this because they're giving this medication so freely. And of course, I'm not talking about all doctors. But those that I saw are definitely the ones that helped contribute to this problem, and we're losing so many people.
You know, it's interesting, Sharon, and I have to be careful and walk a fine line because I'm an activist at heart, and I always advocate for the underserved population. And in our community, we are over-medicated and over-prescribed. There's no doubt about that. And to be honest with you about the opioid epidemic, it's been this way for quite some time. I think just last year, or not as long as 2 years ago, there was a federal indictment in the state of Michigan, in the city of Detroit, where doctors and pharmacists were indicted for this whole ring of prescribing opioids. And so let's just be honest about what happens in urban communities, how people are overprescribed intentionally. There was another doctor indicted for chemotherapy. So, part of the work that I do is really educating people and really empowering them to challenge the conventional medical model, own their own health, and take responsibility instead of putting it in the hands of someone else. Because if you do that, addiction does ensue.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I just say it because I experienced it, so I can only speak about what I've experienced. I would go to a pain clinic, one specific pain clinic, and there were so many people that looked like that possibly they could have been on drugs. And I said, wow, there are a lot of people here that, and then when I went in to see the doctor, he told me that if I did not want certain medication, then this was not the place for me.
So let me just say this. A lot of people who end up in those pain clinics are people who are in recovery in some sort. So if you understand, like, for example, heroin withdrawal, it can be very painful. You start to have all kinds of back aches and joint aches. And what do they do?
They go to the pain clinic and get what they need.
And then they just transfer
To
their
another
dependency from heroin
drug,
to an
another
opiate,
drug.
which is the same thing, which produces the same effect in the body, may not give you the boost as quickly, but then you start to take more of them to get where you're trying to go. So it's a transference, and people need to be made aware of that and be honest. I'm not knocking doctors who have done this in our community for to some extent I am, but I'm not knocking them, but I am going to speak and hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
And I've worked, I've been in the substance abuse treatment community for quite some time now, and I see them being transported from recovery centers to the pain clinic in droves, and it's a problem.
It's a real problem, but
Yeah.
now a bigger problem
Yep.
has ensued, and that's our children are
Yep.
taking this medication themselves. They have no ailments. It was not prescribed for them. It was prescribed for their parents, and they're sitting it around. And so now the commercials are saying, lock up your medication.
One of our youth, so with Class Agency, we have the Drug Free Communities
Right.
Coalition, and we have a youth coalition. And this summer, we took 2 youth to Atlanta to a convention to be trained in how to teach a class to children their age about that. Because, kids listen to each other.
Absolutely.
And right now, we have our youth task force leader, Lauren, is teaching 5th and 6th graders about over-the-counter medication safety. And they address that for the reasons that you've just described.
Wow, it's amazing. If
Yeah.
you have a question for Dr. Carla, you can give us a call at 313-868-0342 or the number below the screen. So, it's just, it's like we don't want to talk about what's really going on with our children. And I've seen also on Facebook some drug where they're jumping all over and just, I mean, their bodies are just, they can't stop it from moving. And I'm like,
Yeah, we're getting ready to do. It's interesting that you say that because we all know that obviously drugs affect different people in different ways.
Right.
But I think it's important for our parents and our youth also to understand drug identification. We did some role playing activities with the youth where we were interested to know how do drugs show up in the lives of our youth. And some of the things that they said just really caught me by surprise. Like these are 5th and 6th graders who already know what edibles are. Do you know what I mean?
wow, yeah.
And so I think drug identification is a big part of it because sometimes they're introduced to things like Skittles that are actually drugs or ecstasy.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden they're eating these things and then they're addicted. And this is
Absolutely.
happening younger and younger. So who knows? And nobody intends to become addicted,
Right.
but it's happening so frequently.
It is happening frequently. And I know that I hear our young people talk about something called lean.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was cough syrup back in the day or I don't know what this lean is, but I know that they said it's red and they put it in their drink or whatever.
It's a concoction. It's a concoction made from cough soap that has codeine in it, and then whatever else they decide to put in it, whether it's alcohol, crushed peels, or whatever the case may be. But if you recall back a couple years, you didn't have to have an identification to purchase certain cough syrups.
Right.
Lean is the reason that regulation was set forth because kids were getting access to it, making these concoctions, and then drinking it at parties.
Wow. And you work specifically in the 48219 area code?
Yes.
Zip code?
We prioritize 48219, but we're happy to partner with other areas, other neighborhood community organizations, and provide resources as well.
Great.
Yep.
So if there are any parents at home that that happen to be on medication, because they need it, what can you suggest to them about putting that medication away and making sure that their young people are not getting a hold to it? Because some of the kids are selling it as well.
You've just said it, though. The key is to put it away. You can't leave it in the bathroom medicine closet anymore.
Like before.
You can't leave it on your nightstand. You literally have to make a conscious effort to get what you need out of the bottle and put it away. And the other thing people do is when they're done taking it, or they may not even take it, they'll just leave it there. But there are resources provided by the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority that they offer these little bags, and they're free. And you can actually pour your medication in the bag, close the bag, and it diffuses the chemical constituents in the medication, and then you can dispose of it. So not only is that eliminating it from laying around your house, but it's even friendly for the environment as well. Because people will pour their pills down the toilet, and that has a negative impact too.
Absolutely. It's
So-
showing up in the water.
Showing up in the water. So our
Yeah.
county, the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority, or our local authority, provides resources in the community that helps people understand how to dispose of it properly, or even put it away properly.
Absolutely. And if there are churches out there and pastors, it seems like we need to take a step forward, especially our
Absolutely.
churches, and say, oh, what can we do to help? Like contact Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority and get those bags and recommend that the members actually come and bring their medication.
It's interesting because we just had a prescription take back day about a month ago, and that's going to be one of the next things that our coalition does in our area code is really reach out to the faith-based organizations and offer resources like education, maybe like one workshop, take resources to these facilities because people don't know what they don't know.
Right. But, pastors, come on now.
Yeah.
It's time to step up. NAACP, it's time to step up
Sure.
and do your part, or at least become visible. I'm not saying that they're not. They may be.
Well, you
But
know what it
more
is. It's taboo.
visible.
I think when working with faith-based organizations, I think people are they're misguided in their understanding where they think their congregation doesn't have problems.
Right.
Or not in my church. And that's not true. It's simply not true. And so kudos to you for calling pastors and churches to the floor because I think a lot of times they don't think those problems exist within the church walls.
Well, I just think it's important that we be real about what we do. It
Absolutely.
is so late.
Yep.
It's later than what we think.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who know about drugs, and then we have grandparents who are on drugs. Look at how many lives are affected there.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
I
that's
agree with
a
you.
wide age range right there that we are not really having that conversation about. And, you know, you can call me out however you want to do that. But my concern are the children.
Yep.
That's my concern. They're too young for that.
Yep.
You know, they're entirely too young for that. So give your contact information again. Your phone
Absolutely.
number.
So my practice is Exhalation Integrative Wellness. We're located on Greenfield, just south of 7 Mile. Our phone number is 313-744-2747. And we're on Facebook and Instagram as EIWDT. And then we have a website, which is www.eiw-dt.com.
Great.
Yep.
And I know we're going to have you bring some of your youth.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
they're going to start educating people in the homes
Absolutely.
about what they're experiencing as it relates to this drug situation.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that program.
So we just did. We had a campaign with our youth a month ago. So I don't know if your viewers are aware that every year in October, the last week in October, it's called Ribbon Week.
Okay.
And that Red Ribbon Week celebrates drug awareness, and it encourages youth to take a pledge to remain drug free.
Okay.
It was inspired by the death of a DEA agent who was undercover in a drug bust ring and ended up getting killed. And his family launched the Red Ribbon campaign in his honor.
Okay.
So our youth participated in that campaign this year by doing a series of PSAs around drug prevention, and they were so involved to the point where they changed the name of our campaign. We went into a school and asked kids if they had to teach other youth about drugs, what would that look like? And we initially called the campaign Because We Care. And the kids, you know, we talked about it, and they're like, well, we don't really care. We just know it's not worth Well, seriously,
Right.
they were honest.
Right.
It's not that we care. We just know that it's not worth it. And they renamed the campaign to #NotWorthIt. And they
okay.
put out well over 10 videos about staying away from drugs. And each one of these youth took the drug-free pledge, and they did printed media postcards with messages on the back of the postcards that we have now disseminated in the neighborhood, with kids from the neighborhood's face on the front of them.
Wow.
And I think kids respond, and it has created somewhat of a I don't want to use the word cult for lack of better terms, but like a cult-like following. When children see other children a part of something positive, they too want to be a part of that.
Right.
And I think as adults sometimes, and even as a mom, I think sometimes I underestimate the power children have on other kids. And in this case, our coalition youth really stepped up to the plate, really designed a good message, and really encouraged other youth to participate. So we're looking forward to doing more with these kids.
That's great. So if someone wanted to reach out to you to get some of those cards, those pledge cards, are you guys doing that around the city?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, I try to leave some everywhere we go. So we have them. You can call my office, 313-744-2747, and I can make sure that you get those.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and I know on Saturday after Thanksgiving we're doing a young and seasoned bowling party. What I'm finding is that young people have such disrespect for their elders, you know, and from working with my program, I find that the young people are running the households as well. And so when it's time to speak up and say, no, you can't do that, or you shouldn't say that, you know, they're looking at me, they don't disrespect me because I give respect and I demand it. So I get with them. But, you know, it's time for us to interact with them again and show them how you can have fun without drugs and without, you know, just good, clean fun.
I think that is so important. I think you and I have had this.
Generation.
We've had this conversation before. Some of the work, one of the community outreach programs I do is around Afro-herbalism. And in that, we explore the history of herbalism and the contributions that blacks have made. But I realized something, and that has young people, and it also has elders in that class. And the element of storytelling is lost when you don't engage each other intergenerationally.
Right.
And I'm so fortunate to have been raised. It was unfortunate that my parents were in their addiction and they didn't raise me. But I was absolutely fortunate to be raised by my grandmother, because there were some things that she gave me just in interacting with her as being 2 generations older that I think a lot of kids today miss. So kudos to you again for
Yes.
bridging that generational gap with some positive interaction. I'm going to be there. Me and my family are going to be there.
Listen, we started out with just the girls in our program, the Curvy Girl Project. Now we have close to 65 people that are going to be there. About 30 seniors. It's going to be held at the Bonanza Bowl in Warren. I tried real hard to work with some of the ones in the city, but I didn't get a call back. So when I don't get a call back after 3 times, I'll move on.
I understand.
3 shots, I'll move on. But we have well over, I think we have about 65 now.
It's going to be exciting. Good, clean fun.
Good, clean fun. And then that interaction. So there's no drugs there. There's no fighting. There's no cursing. You know, so we need to retrain and reprogram our young people on how they should act, because the time we have left, we don't know.
We don't know.
And so we have to give them all we got. And that's just what I believe.
You know, I agree with you. We have to embrace them, and we have to bridge that gap as often as we can.
Yes, I had an experience today with my niece and my nephew who, they're my caregivers and I'm theirs. And I went to get the car washed, and I gave the guy the money, and he just threw me my change and looked at me. I said, "You're welcome." And he thought about, "Thank you." Okay, and so my niece asked, "Well, why did you make him say thank you?" Because I believe in respecting my dollar. You know, when I go about getting the money that I have, I demand respect for it.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten so far away just from our young people saying, "Thank you, please, you're welcome." So you're right. When you're raised by a more seasoned adult, then you always tend to give those things to the young people instead of some of the other things that they're getting from their parents. But I have totally enjoyed this, Carla. I'm looking for Dr. Carla Mitchell. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm looking forward to you actually coming and sitting in for me as we move forward. And we're going to be educating whoever is out there watching so that they can educate others about the things that we have to offer. You have been watching Expose Under the Sun. I'm Sharon Dumas, and we'll see you next week.
Got back, did a little bit. Now we hardy, puffy, tough, do rag and Tim's.